To the Four Corners, more monsoonal moisture coming in across parts of Arizona.
He says the temperature could reach 120 in Death Valley in the next few days. President Trump enjoying Saturday morning's good weather at his golf resort in New Jersey and tweeting about the secret recordings in which he and attorney Michael Cohen discussed payoffs to a model who said she had an affair with Mr. Trump. The president tweeting that it's inconceivable that a lawyer would tape a client, totally unheard of and perhaps illegal. But Fox's Laura Ingle, who is traveling with the president, says the taping may have been legal.
It is not clear where Cohen recorded Mr. Trump. Now, if it was done in New York State, where Cohen has his office and apartment, this would fall under New York's one-party consent law, meaning that one party must obtain the consent of at least one other party to record, and that could include the person making the recording. And in this case, that would be Michael Cohen.
Michigan Congressman Dan Kildee delivering the Democratic Party's weekly media address, citing the water crisis in Flint, which is part of his district.
This week, House Democrats joined me in Flint to sit down with families and see the progress being made to replace lead pipes with the funds from Congress. While the Flint water crisis has faded from the national headlines, this visit is a reminder that the crisis is not over.
Democrats are calling for legislation to improve the nation's infrastructure. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Are you hiring, posting your position to job sites and waiting for the right people to see it? ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And ZipRecruiter doesn't stop there. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, our listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. That's ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. ZipRecruiter.com/newscast. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
California deputies arrest a man following yesterday's shooting death of his 2-year-old granddaughter. The story from Fox's Carmen Roberts.
A 4-year-old boy accidentally shot and killed his 2-year-old cousin, but deputies in Southern California say it's the toddler's grandfather that's to blame. They arrested 53-year-old Cesar Lopez at his home in San Bernardino County for allegedly leaving the gun where the kids could find it. This neighbor says it never should have happened.
It's really sad. Firearms should be put up in a safe place, a gun case or anything.
Lopez also faces charges of being a felon in possession of a firearm. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
There's a new executive running Fiat Chrysler, the board naming Jeep head Mike Manley as CEO. He replaces Sergio Marchionne, who is suffering from complications from surgery. Marchionne had run Fiat Chrysler for nearly a decade. Manley takes over at a time when the company has a strong balance sheet, but it's facing controversies, including suspected cheating on emissions tests and bribery allegations. A newborn baby already guaranteed food for life. Fox's Tom Graham explains why.
Little Gracelyn Griffin will be able to eat more chicken for the rest of her life. Chick-fil-A extending the perk after she was born in one of their Texas store bathrooms. Her mother, Fallon Griffin, began having contractions outside of the San Antonio restaurant during closing time. Her father, Robert, pounding on the door and explaining the situation to the store manager, who then provided towels for the expecting couple. Moments later, Gracelyn came into the world. Chick-fil-A also says she could have a job there if she wants when she turns 14. Tom Graham, Fox News.
For 20 minutes today, Tiger Woods' name was back on top of a leaderboard. Woods shot a 5-under par 66 today to get into contention in the British Open. He made 2 birdies early on. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News Radio.
Chicago. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chi-Town Expat Show with your host, Ron Harders. And today we've got a guest, Marianne Ferrari. And she's really hot to trot about the hashtag walk away. And I can't blame her because, boy, is that taken off. And so, Marianne, why don't you tell us about why you think that's such a great deal?
Well, Ron, I think it's because the left has been exposed since Trump came out and started campaigning. I think that's the key to the whole thing. From the videos that I've watched maybe 30 to 50 of them. These people they were having thoughts for quite some time, but no actions. And that's really an important thing to keep in mind in all political things, because people don't always act exactly how they feel. And you think they're not with you. You think they're totally not with you, but that's not necessarily the case. And that's what I think the big lesson is for all of us conservatives, that they weren't really that far away from us. We just thought they were. And we need to remember that, I think.
Well, that's a good point, yeah.
But to address the exposure, I think it's one of the most important things we need to realize. I think the only thing that kills, well, I don't want to say kills, it's like sunlight kills Dracula on sight. Exposure denudes and completely makes powerless anybody on the left. They have nowhere to go, because they don't have anything but one way to get ahead, and that's by being bullies, by bullying others, and lying, and making up a whole themed story that isn't true, that plays upon people's desire to be good, but uses it against them. And so you can't win with that unless you keep the wool over people's eyes. Exposure kills it in an instant, just like sunlight does Dracula.
Well, that's a very good point, and you're absolutely right. I've looked at a whole bunch of things, and I've wondered, how can we get to these young people? And it seems that this one fellow got it started, and it's just going crazy. And I think that's wonderful for the country, because the politicians, the parties, both of them basically, have been screwing the American public forever. And it's time that we shut them down and stood up for the American people.
You know what we did wrong forever from the very beginning, because it's the way we are, it's our personalities as conservatives to talk? We told them, but we didn't show them. We didn't get out there and rally. We didn't want to make a fuss. We didn't want to be rude. We just tried to explain. But unfortunately, they weren't ready to listen, and talking wasn't going to do anything for them. But Trump changed the whole dynamic. From day one, he started showing the whole country what they were by exposing them. I'll give you my greatest example. The very first example I noticed towards the very beginning of Trump's campaign, when he held his very first press conference, Jorge Ramos of Univision tried to take over that press conference with a rant. He wouldn't stop ranting. Never asked a question. Plus, he was interrupting a reporter that had just been called on by Trump. And Trump made it 10, 15 attempts to tell him. He kept saying, please sit down, sit down, sit down. It's not your turn. Sit down. And Jorge Ramos ignored him and kept ranting. And finally, Trump gave a sign to his security man, who went over and gently but firmly walked Jorge Ramos outside that room. I was so happy that day, because I knew it was a turning point. It was the beginning of a turning point. Maybe nobody noticed, but to me, that was huge. Consequences were brought to bear on bullying tactics instantly. No delay. And that's what we have to do, because it shows the world what they're made of. It shows them. It shows that they were bullied because somebody had to do something about it to set things right. Talking doesn't help. They won't shut up.
No, and they will talk over you. Just take a look at Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh.
What was it the other day?
Unbelievable.
And all on top of Jeanine Pirro. That was just outrageous. And, I don't know how she still has a job. I, in fact, signed the petition to have her fired.
I'm glad you did. I wish I knew where it was. I'd sign it myself. But you know why she's been able to get to the point where she would believe that she is entitled to behave that way? Because she and all of us have been living in a world where that has not been allowed to be changed, where nobody's allowed to say boo to that kind of behavior. But now it's not that world anymore, because a lot of things followed the Jorge Ramos incident, and people picked right up on it. Not too long after all of that, not too long after he was elected, we had the Chick-fil-A incident, where when somebody tried to do a boycott of Chick-fil-A, and conservatives flocked to Chick-fil-A, never had a better year. That was another first sign that I saw of action. Oh, conservatives, they don't want to get out there and expose themselves, and that's what you have to do. Whatever way you do it, you have to do that.
Well, I think part of the problem is that the conservatives are the makers and the workers. They actually have jobs to go to.
Yeah, true.
And they don't have the time to spend to do all of this crazy stuff that the ones who are the takers have. And so what's coming around is the Tea Party started it off. And I think that motivated Trump to get to start. But then the Tea Party kind of died out because they kept getting beaten over the head. And now I think it's coming back. And this hashtag walk away is one of the biggest things that I've ever seen happen. And good God, let's hope it continues.
And what's the irony of hashtag walk away? To me, it's that both parties are screwing their members, not just the Democrats.
That's right.
Everybody needs to walk away from both of these parties because they have proven themselves not to be worthy.
Right. You started out a program to get rid of Jonathan Lyons, and that didn't work out, but there were some other people that were involved in that were kind of nasty.
But I made a lot of hay while I was at it, because I exposed the leadership. But I did things like I went up to there was the second executive committee meeting of the year was in June, I think, in Flagstaff, and I wrote 2 motions for that meeting. I couldn't bring the motions because I wasn't a member of the committee, but I found 2 members who were willing to do so. I didn't care whether the motions were voted on. I didn't care whether they were passed. I cared that we get a reaction from the rhinos to those motions, and boy, did we. But we lucked out. One of them actually got voted on, and of course voted down by the loudest shouts I've ever heard in a meeting like that. And it seemed like not everyone was a member, but an awful lot of people were yelling nay that day. So, it's nice to expose things. Another thing happened to me when we had a meeting called by a lovely lady in Tucson, and she had made the mistake of using email to announce it to her largest group of email people that she sent to. And it came to light that one of the leadership people who's not on our side either got the email or learned about it. And I'm assuming, it's my opinion, that people were called and told not to go. Not one person showed up. We drove down from Phoenix for this meeting. I was going to talk about the removal and why, this and that. Of course, these were all state committee that were invited. It wasn't the public. And I didn't get upset because my purpose was exposure. I went into this win or lose. I didn't care if we lost the whole thing. I cared that we exposed. And so what I did was I engaged this person who arrived. to be smug and to lord it over us and enjoy the fact that we were, she expected, flummoxed by this event. I engaged that person in conversation and got that person to talk about the job, that this is an elected official, has a job, has things that they're supposed to do. I'm not going to name any names. I'm kind of skirting around.
Yeah, that's all right.
I got the person to actually admit that there were no tasks in this. It was just an elected position, but there were no tasks, no responsibilities. In fact, I was told, quote unquote, that all the work is done by hirelings or volunteers, and that was huge. So I wrote that up for the briefs, the Republican briefs, and for the Arizona Freedom Alliance website. Comments by 1 million people came. Everybody was up in arms. It was beautiful. We made the most of the exposure possibilities, and that's the key. And this is what is great about Walkaway. It's exposing the Democrats. Every one of those videos that comes out with these sincere people being as genuine as they may have ever been in their lives, talking about the thoughts that they had before, during, and after they decided to walk away. And all the reasons why. My God, this is a bonanza for our side.
Oh yeah, and I saw several of them were in tears.
Yes,
and
rightly so.
Yeah, and it's not just white people; it's all kinds of people, and that's an amazing thing. And I think the African American population is waking up.
They are.
And they're realizing that the Democrats have been screwing them forever. And just look at cities like Detroit, Chicago, and Baltimore, and so on, where and now let's look at San Francisco and how it's buried in defecation and needles and whatever else. And they can't even get...
That's exposure, too.
Yeah. But they can't even get a convention to go there anymore.
Want to know what's funny about that? The mainstream media reports on the human excrement, bags of it being dumped everywhere and all over, and the tents, because they're using it, as they've used it all along, to demoralize us and make us feel that the country's going down. But... they don't realize that exposure is getting people to say, hey, wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute. This isn't America anymore. Who's doing this?
Right.
So
Exactly.
everything they do is backfiring on them now. Everything.
Yeah, and it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, and we really need to make sure that it continues.
You know what happened with the Tea Party, I think? We played it by the rules like we do every other thing. We organized the Tea Party to work within the political system, within the parties, and try to influence the direction of the parties in a positive way. Unfortunately, we didn't realize, I didn't really fully understand it till last year, how completely dominated the Republican Party is by rhinos, Republicans in name only. We didn't, and back in 2010, 2011, we didn't know. We knew something was wrong. We thought of rhinos back then as people who, they just didn't understand. It wasn't that. They all understand very well.
Oh yeah, and they had only one thing in mind: screwing the American public. And I went to the march in Washington. And there must have been 100,000 people there. And we sat on the lawn of the White House, or not the White House, but on the Capitol, and we got nothing out of it. Nothing.
No, they won't report anything.
Yeah, and it was just a shame and I think that's what demoralized people a lot. But when Trump came along, all of a sudden there was a new spark. And boy, oh boy, that election just in 2016 just tore the Democrats apart. They had no idea how badly they looked, and they tried everything they could, cheated as much as they possibly could.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason that she actually got the popular vote.
I think you're right there.
Yeah, and well, there were some places where there were 3,000 more people that voted than actually lived in the place,
or 30,000,
right? Or were included the cemeteries.
Yeah, right. Trump does something that we need to do. He has a set of standards for what's civilized behavior, and he won't accept people constantly breaking those standards. He won't sit by for it. He won't back down from it. He acts accordingly without violence, but he won't let go of the standards. He'll defend them. He's willing to defend them. And even if he loses the game, even if they keep doing what they're doing, like as with the laws that they're refusing to change to allow him to protect the border, for example, it exposes the fact that they won't do it.
Right.
And so you win by exposure. Again, I mean, I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough.
And boy, whenever they hit him with something, he hits them back twice as hard.
And I love how he brings up, he says things he knows they're going to go wild about.
Right.
And that they're going to think was a mistake on his part. Turns out they expose themselves more.
Yes, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It really is. And now, is there anything on the walkaway thing that you've seen that you really were impressed with?
Well, here's one thing. I meant to mention it earlier. Not every single one, but a lot of them are talking at some point during their video about the importance of independent thinking. And they're saying that they realized they weren't allowed to think independently, to have their own ideas. They were forced to, they felt that they were in an authoritarian organization, and P.S. they were. But the fact that they thought to mention it, I never dreamed that anybody who was a rabid Democrat, which most of these people were at one time, they describe it that way, would have that insight. But it shows you something else. Most Americans live conservative lives. They go to a job, they save their money, they get married, they have kids, they live a good, clean life. But they only, and I have a suspicion many of them think they're liberal when really they're conservative. But because the Democrats have played on, as I said before, the desire to be good, and they've identified being good with being Democrat, a lot of people, a lot of really conservative people will identify this way. They'll say, well, I'm fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. And I just don't think that's really right. I don't think it's true. I think that, in fact, I think that the word conservatism, we need to get rid of it, because it sounds like you're trying to hold everything back and not progress, and it gives it the wrong color. It really does. Really, I go back to the founders. Why was this country founded the way it was? People came over here from a Europe that was degraded in many ways. The lives of people, the way they lived, if you didn't have any money, if you lost your job, you ended up in debtor's prison. And the only way out was to come here as an indentured servant. But once you got here, everything kicked in for you. Once you finished the servitude, you were free. And boy, you liked it. And the founders themselves, they wanted to create a fresh and clean governmental system that would not allow the country to become like England and the rest of Europe was back then, and it still is, actually. They wanted to start fresh, and they did a really good job.
Oh, yes, they did.
That was what it was. And the point is, that was not conservatism that they were saying, that they were talking about. That wasn't liberalism. That was a civilized way of creating a government and defining a civilization. So really, we're not conservatives. We're doing what the founders did. We're being civilized. That's all it is. And we need to stop accepting that term to be laid upon us, or alt-right, or any of that. And I think if you look back, the Democrats or the progressives or the globalists were the ones who invented the terms left and right. I don't know that we did. I don't know we would ever think about that. I'd love to know where that came from. I'm really bad at history, so I should know this maybe, but it's I think also not accurate to call us right or left. It has lost its meaning because it's acquired too strong a meaning. And in my view, we're a civilized nation, and we created a civilized government, more civilized than any other, more fair, with equality of opportunity and not determining outcomes. That was the whole point of America.
Except the parties have tried to eliminate that, and
yes, they have,
and they've done a pretty good job of it so far.
And originally, they just had differences of opinion on specific matters, and suddenly it's turned into, or maybe over time, it's turned into something much more intransigent. It's
right.
It makes it impossible to ever find a meeting of the minds.
Right, and they keep their power by giving special perks to different interest groups and so on and so forth, and by then getting their votes. And they keep us separated into little groups, and we're constantly fighting with each other, and that's not the way we should be. We should all be Americans.
And that's what they're showing, these walkaway people, to me. They're hearkening back to that way that people interacted earlier in our country, when they were all united in being Americans and believing in our country. And the rest was details. And we need to get back there. We need to unify the people as Americans. One lady, I put her video on my website. She talked about how proud and happy and she is and grateful to be an American. And she meant it. I've never heard anybody or seen anybody on a video say it quite the way she did. Really meant a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have a lot of people come here legally, and they are assimilated, and they want to be assimilated, and they want to be Americans, and they're tickled to death to become Americans. And then we have the illegals, which they want to do that, but they just don't have the respect for the country to do it the right way. And I think they're here just for the welfare benefits for the most part. And the ones that are coming from the Middle East, not only are they here for that, but they hate us besides. It's a terrible thing. So I don't know what to do about it, but we certainly have to. Trump was right when he said, let's bar the Muslims from coming here from certain countries.
Well, if we sweep the midterms, we might be able to put more pressure on Congress to approve legislation that will free up Trump to protect the borders the way they need to be protected.
Well, we've got to get rid of a bunch of Democrats, number one, and we got to get rid of several of the rhinos, and a couple of them have quit already, Mr. Flake being one. And I hate to say it, but Mr. McCain should retire very soon, and that would help a lot. Of course, the last thing we want is Kristen Sinema to be the senator from Arizona, and I don't think that Johnny McCain's wife would be a very good senator also. But what can I say?
Well, I have to agree with you. Can't not agree.
Okay, well, anyway, we're going to wrap this up in about and pay some bills, and we'll be back in the next segment. So have a good day and come back.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger, from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14. 41, 31, 13. We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. I realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the Search Engine and Digital Marketing Race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
Okay, we're back. And it's just another wonderful hot day in Phoenix, Arizona. And my guest again is Marianne Ferrari. And so I'm going to turn it over to you and let you pontificate on a few things. And let's see where we can go from there.
Don't make me scared, Ron. I might run out of words.
I doubt that.
I want to talk about those nice people that are brave and walking away from the Democratic Party. It's mind-blowing what they're doing. And don't think it's easy having announced it, because what happens after you've walked away from the Democratic Party? You have a choice. Be an independent, don't have a registration at all, or register as a Republican. And in a way, I can imagine they feel like political orphans, not really sure which way they want to go. In fact, probably don't want to make any decisions about that quite yet, or right away, and they don't want to be encouraged in any direction either. I can't blame them. But I think there's a lot of information they're missing because they've been steeped in the other themes. And I think the way we can best help them is by sharing what we know. Now, the leader of the Walkaway, the guy who founded it, his name is Brandon Straka. He has made a call to action to conservatives everywhere. He's asking us to make videos and tell our stories. Why are we conservatives? What do we think about the Walkaway? How do we see the situation on the ground in our politics today? and anything we can share of a personal nature that will help them visualize where they are now and where they might decide to go. There's nothing more valuable than when genuine people sincerely express their real thoughts to each other. And this is a teachable moment for all of us. This is the way it has to be. This is the way it should be. We need to build on this. So let's meet them halfway. Let's talk to them. I urge every conservative who has any feelings about this at all to make a video and post it with the Walkaway, either Facebook or YouTube channel.
Well, that's a very good idea. I thought being on the radio was going to be enough, but I think if I do make a video, which I certainly shall this week, I will reach more people, and it may get reposted to other areas and so on, and so my reach may be a lot bigger than I think it might be.
Well, what I'm working on right now is really in the video vein as well. I don't know if you've heard about it yet, but there is a new platform for videos that parallels what YouTube does, but it's totally conservative, and to get a channel you've got to be vetted conservative, and it's totally uncensored as well. It's called Real.video.
Real.video?
Real.video. .video is like .com, the last name.
Oh, okay.
And their name is therefore real.
Oh, okay.
I got a channel assigned to me because 3 months ago when I learned that it was being planned or worked on, I signed up and I was approved. I'm calling it Drain the Swamp. Nothing's up yet, but we're getting very ready to start putting videos up. And what I want to do with that channel is show all the different ways people are already making headway as conservatives to expose the rhinos, expose the Democrats, the leftists, the globalists. And there are so many ways that people are making headway that disappear. We may read an article about it and then we forget. But I want there to be a compendium of information in videos that show it, that show people doing it. Because I think conservatives need a little jump start. I think they need to be shown all the different ways so that they can find a way that suits them. I'm the same way as a lot of other conservatives. I was the last person to expose myself and go out there and be public. What I did last year took a real huge decision on my part, and I'd never made a decision like it before. I had to prepare to be attacked, and I was attacked, in fact, but I had to be prepared to move on regardless, and that was big for me, and it changed my life, because before I did that, I had lifelong catastrophic writer's block. And 3 weeks after I'd made that decision, it was gone. I realized it was gone.
Well, now, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of the way I feel in a lot of respects. I'm like a little bit loath to express my thoughts completely wide open to the world, because I'm afraid that I might get a whole bunch of bullying back talk, and I don't feel like I'm how should I say it, able to withstand that, but I think I have to make up. I think our country is much more valuable to me and to the rest of the people that I'm going to have to get off of my back stool and get out on the front dais and make myself heard.
Well, I'm amazed to hear you say that, Ron, because the way I know you, you've always been the first guy out there, decisive as hell. I don't know. I can't believe you're saying this to me.
Well, I guess it's my old age that's taken me back into the shell. But certainly, I know I was a lot more wide open when I was younger.
Younger, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, time goes past in a hurry when you, especially the older you get.
Well, I've got a confession of my own to make. Okay, I want to make a video to reach out to the walkaway people, and I'm scared to death. I really am, because I watch their videos and I see they are totally not conscious that they're talking to a screen. They're looking at the screen as if they're looking at you. One evening I watched 20 or 30 of them in a row, and I went to bed so serene, like I had had an intimate conversation with a bunch of really nice people, and it made me feel different. And I thought, I want to come to them the same way they came to me, but I don't know if I can do it. I have lots to say. I have a lot of sincere things I want to tell them, but I don't know if I can come off right that way.
Yeah, and I also I'm kind of, as I say, I'm a little loath to do it because I'm not sure what to say. And I don't want to alienate anyone and send them back to the Democrat Party. But I don't think that I would do that. So I have to watch my far right speech, but certainly I can articulate what I want to say.
You know, that's exactly what I've been thinking. What if I pop out with some of my strongest political opinions and freak them out? I don't want to do that. Because, look, there's nobody more sincere, is there, than a conservative?
Right.
Especially a conservative activist. Give me a break, right?
Right. And sometimes we say things that we really don't mean, but we say them just to show what the really far right would be.
Let's face it. We say things out of frustration because we're deeply frustrated because for so long we were silenced.
Exactly.
And everything we did, we were come down on by rocks. I mean.
Oh yeah.
So that's what this video thing is about. I want us to be happy warriors, and like Trump is a happy warrior. You don't see him ever look daunted in the least, no matter what they throw at him. And it's because he knows they're full of it, right?
Yeah.
Number one, he doesn't care, and he knows what the right is. And he's serene about it. It doesn't cause him to question the rightness of it because somebody comes down on it with a mountaintop dropping on it. He doesn't care. And he won't let go, but he doesn't feel like he's fighting for it either. It's effortless because he doesn't have to fight for it. You just have to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, that is the most beautiful thing. And that's what I was trying to implement last year, and it works. It was fun. All the people that were doing it with me had so much fun exposing the rhinos.
All
summer long.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard tell that people who worked at the headquarters, I could be wrong, it was rumor, were overheard saying they weren't at all sure that they were going to be able to defeat us at the meeting if we held the meeting to remove the chair. So we scared them. We scared them pretty good. It didn't take that much. Think about it.
Yeah, well, that's what we really need to do.
You know, what if masses of conservatives start acting like Donald Trump? Hold on to their standards, act accordingly, act as if everyone already accepted those standards without questioning them. Act as if. And that way, the appropriate thing to do to Jorge Ramos was to make him leave the room gently, but make him leave because he was out of order. Pure and simple. And that's just all it is. You don't have to fight. You just have to do the right thing and not let the wrong thing stand.
Especially, and this Jim Acosta is the same way. The guy yelling at the conference between, or the presser between Putin and Trump.
Oh, that reporter, yeah.
And he is such an idiot. I want to say another word, but that wouldn't go very well on the radio. But in any case, yeah, he's and they absolutely have no sense of decorum whatsoever. It's my way or the highway. And I'm just sick and tired of that.
But you know what's fun now? Because they're using hyperbole to such an extent, it's becoming pretty obvious. I mean, they don't just complain about something, they say it's going to kill people. It's going to kill thousands of Americans.
Right, well, sticking with them is what's going to kill the Americans. Oh, God almighty.
But what fun to watch this happen.
Yeah.
It's joyous to read Breitbart every morning, but even more joyous every morning to read theconservativetreehouse.com, because they really go deep under the reasons why and what's behind the scenes. I love that site.
Yeah. Conservative Treehouse,
They made me happy, even before Trump did. I was for 3 months going to that site, and I've been serene about what's happening ever since. Before, I worried constantly. I don't want to worry anymore because it doesn't help. It just weakens you.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I have to get out of my shell and get back to work.
Now I want to save America. I'm going to save America. We're just saving America. That's it.
Yes.
I'm not hoping I'm saving America. I'm not worrying I won't be able to save America.
Well,
I'm busy saving America, sorry.
Right. Well, I've got 3 girls, and 2 of them can't have children, and one of them has 3 children, and she now has grandchildren. So I'm a great-grandfather. And America needs to be a good place for them to live out the rest of their lives. And I don't see that, I didn't see that with the Democrats in charge, and certainly if Hillary had won the election, we would be in deep doo-doo. And I don't think that, it's funny, I'm thinking about this collusion thing with the Russians, and Hillary gave 20% of our uranium to the Russians, and that's not collusion. So I just, they do everything they can to cover things up. Hopefully, we will get rid of the never-Trumpers in the DOJ and the CIA and the other places, and put these people in jail.
I just had a thought about the walkaway people. You know what they are? They're therapy for discouraged conservatives.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm telling you, you watch those videos and it's therapeutic. Because what has driven me nuts since I got involved in 2009 with the Tea Party is that it seemed none of those people would listen. You couldn't find a way to even start talking to them. It was a mystery. It was a conundrum. I could not get past it, beating my head against it the whole time. It was so frustrating, and I felt so powerless. Couldn't figure out a way. And I have to tell you, that's what my parents were like growing up, so this has been killing me. It's like I got the same fight, only it's bigger now.
Well, I understand that, and I felt the same way. I felt there was nothing you could say to them that would make any difference whatsoever, and it was like talking to a stone wall.
Oh God, you made me think of something else. I worry about talking directly to them for fear I'll turn them off. And we got to not worry about it. We got to be people and sincere and genuine, just like they're being on the thing, and not worry about it. Because this is for keeps.
Yes, it is.
This is for keeps. And you know what? The generation we belong to, and a generation or two below us, we are the last Americans who remember what America was like. Even already it was changed, but we still remember the essence of it. And it's up to us to pass that sense on to those people. They may never capture it on their own. This is our job. until we die, we have to keep doing that.
Oh yeah.
We are the carriers of the American culture.
Well,
for real.
One of the first things that we really have to do is to change the education system. And because it's not education anymore, it's indoctrination.
And common sense came to my mind, the word common sense, because it's totally missing common sense.
Yes.
Started out with common sense. They weren't fooling around back in the pioneer days when they started those schools.
No.
They wanted to teach them how to be active, useful citizens, and they arranged their educational system accordingly. Well, now that is not the case. It's been arranged in a whole different way.
Right, and it's dumbing down everybody, and it's a shame. My wife is a teacher, and the difference between and she teaches in a college, and the difference between the kids from 10 years ago and today is even more pronounced than it was from 20 years ago to today. So it's an amazing thing that how little they know, and how their inability to think is amazing, and that's what makes this hashtag walk away so important, because they've shed that web of whatever, you know.
Yeah, they've shed it, but they don't have the stuff to put in the place.
Right.
I mean, think about it. If they understood that the globalists orchestrated World Wars I and II, that would blow their minds right there. I mean, it would be hard to take at
Well,
first.
it's not just that.
Well, I know. I'm just saying. One example.
Yeah.
But really, our whole history has been manipulated.
Right. And it's all to feed the Rothschilds and their group. And who knows if it wasn't the Vatican that was involved. And now I'm seeing all of this pedophilia and the Satanism and so on and so forth.
In the higher echelons of the glitterati.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if they have, what they would think if they learned that we have a communist pope. Wow.
Well, he is.
Yeah, but the walkaway people, they wouldn't know what to do with that information.
No.
It would be a lot.
Right.
So we have to be careful not to throw it all at them at once.
Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town.